Hello everyone, I'm Escambia County Sheriff David Morgan, and we want to take just a few moments. Number one, to say Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays to everyone, and thank you to the citizens of Escambia County. We've had a banner year at the Escambia County Sheriff's Office, and it's due in no small part, actually in all of its parts, to you, the citizens of Escambia County, who without your participation and your agreement and bonding with the Escambia County Sheriff's Office in the course that we have taken, we would never have succeeded as we have in this previous year. We have a list here of the highlights at the Escambia County Sheriff's Office. We think you're going to find them very interesting. Everything from tremendous drug busts to community outreach to the hiring that we're doing at the Escambia County Sheriff's Office to ensure our legacy and its continuing service to the citizens that we serve. It's an honor to be the Sheriff of Escambia County. It's an honor to have set the pace and the standard that you have agreed to in Escambia County. I'm Escambia County Sheriff David Morgan. Enjoy the film.
We wanted to give you a look at the ECSO's Top 10 Stories of 2016. It's an event the ECSO and the Pensacola Police Department sponsor each year for a different local charity. Coming in at number 10, Guns vs. Hoses. This year we won the game 15-10, but the biggest achievement was raising $15,000 for the Keeping Abreast Foundation. And it was a first ever for the ECSO Narcotics Unit. While serving a search warrant on September 28th, a pill press was located inside an Escambia County home. Number 9 is our press conference on the narcotics investigation. During the search of the home located in the 1000 block of Chandeli Lake Drive, investigators located several bags of powder believed to be bath salts, controlled prescription pills, marijuana, mushrooms believed to contain the hallucinogenic ingredients, and steroids. In addition, investigators located a pill press and 2 firearms. This is the first pill manufacturing machine seized in Escambia County. Investigators have reason to believe that the occupants of the residence were manufacturing pills containing MDPV, which is a chemical used to manufacture the synthetic drug commonly referred to as bath salts.
And that's the danger when you're disguising a pill. So you're selling it on the street, and again, if you're a user, you think you're getting a Xanax, and now you're ingesting something that will have a totally opposite effect of Xanax. Getting away from just the fact that you're killing yourself, you're a tremendous danger to our community. And that's been, broadly in the news. I mean, it's hideous to consider that someone would, eat someone's face. That's the effects of these drugs.
The pills that were manufactured from the pill press were designed to mimic the design and look of the controlled prescription medication Xanax.
When you're talking about bath salts, things like that, that's something that we want to jump on as law enforcement. And you can see that the group of individuals and the agencies that participated in this, we all got together, and it needed to be taken care of as quick as possible. Including the cocaine case. I mean, you're talking about 1.5 kilos. We need to get that off the street. Our job is to get the distributors.
Kevin McLemore was arrested and charged with trafficking in a controlled substance, possession of drug manufacturing equipment, possession of a firearm by a convicted felon, possession of marijuana, and possession of drug paraphernalia. Gary Stadelmeyer, a known associate of the local street gang, Trace Up, was arrested and charged with trafficking in controlled substance, possession of drug without prescription, and possession of a drug paraphernalia. Ronald Greyhover was arrested and charged with trafficking in a controlled substance.
Coming in at number 8 is another narcotics press conference held here at the ECSO, Operation Brick House.
This is the largest drug operation that was successfully concluded in the history of Escambia County.
ECSO narcotics investigators, along with other agencies, put a major dent in the illegal narcotics distribution here in Escambia County. Since 2012, a group of people moving and distributing significant amounts of heroin, crystal methamphetamine, cocaine, and prescription pills have been under investigation.
What we know is up to 5 kilos of heroin a month and anywhere between 3 and 5 pounds of crystal methamphetamine. If you saw what's on the table up there, it is the crystallized form. That's much different than what we're seeing here locally with the meth labs. The people that are doing the meth labs are users, and you'll get it in powder form. This is what they prefer. If you see something like this and it's in crystallized form, it is being brought into this area. That stuff's not being made here. That stuff's being made south of the border.
Alfred Hayes was identified by ECSO investigators and the DEA as the head of the distribution network, along with a few of his family members. Nephews Eric and Marcus Stallworth and cousin Lonnie Hayes.
We're talking about family. I mean, there's nothing stronger than that. To infiltrate a group like that, it takes a lot, because I don't know how much, me personally, if I was to get in a bunch of trouble, it'd be very difficult for me to provide information on family. That's what made this so difficult, and it took so long to get these individuals. It's just because they're all related by blood.
Other members of the organization included Juan Martinez, Travaris Johnson, Darren Hughes, Joseph Cook, Melissa Buchanan, Terrence Bowden, and Matt Crawford.
They thought they were untouchable again, and in this case, they're not.
On Mother's Day, search warrants were served at 6 different locations in Escambia County. More than 500 grams of heroin, 3 pounds of crystal methamphetamine, $40,000, 100 grams of cocaine and/or crack, and various prescription pills were found. The street value of the drugs seized, nearly $500,000.
This is what we're doing. They're long and tedious investigations that take a ton of man hours to do.
Are you hoping it'll send a message to outside operations not to come here?
Yes, absolutely.
Also seized 8 vehicles, lawn equipment, and electronics that are believed to have been purchased using proceeds gained or delivered from illegal activities. Additional search warrants were served in Baymonette, Alabama, with the assistance of the Baldwin County Sheriff's Office Drug Task Force. ECSO investigators will tell you they're still not done with this case. A warrant is out for Terrence Bowden, and investigators want to speak to Christopher Murphy, Annie Richards, and Amber Klein.
It would behoove of them to start cooperating for themselves now.
As a member of the ECSO, I'm proud to bring our number 7 story of the year. Our School Resource Officer Unit has touched many lives over the years. This year, we were recognized by the state of Florida as being the best School Resource Officer Unit in the state. One of our SROs was announced as the best individual SRO in the state of Florida.
Hey boys, hey buddy.
He's there when you need him, and he's more, like I said, he's more than an SRO.
And that's how most students describe Senior Deputy Ron Gill. His career in law enforcement started 40 years ago. The past 12 years, he's worked as an SRO for the Escambia County Sheriff's Office.
That's the kind of person Ron is. He doesn't think about himself. Most of the time he thinks about the kids and the community. I wish I had 1,000 Ron Gills.
I've been in law enforcement a long time. When I first went into the SRO unit, I was not happy. I felt confined because you have the freedom of patrol, and plus our middle school is running around everywhere. And as time went on, you come to realize that sometimes you are the only positive influence that you get, that these children get.
But being an SRO isn't just a job for Senior Deputy Gill. He not only works hard protecting students and faculty, he also gives selflessly of his time and money, helping students in need.
A student that can't afford a yearbook, Gill's going to make sure they have a yearbook. But it's not going to be from Gill. That sponsor will, this yearbook sponsor will just make sure that child gets a yearbook. But Gill is behind that.
Senior Deputy Gill likes to help students behind the scenes, keeping his generosity a secret. From creating a lunch account in his name with the goal of feeding the less fortunate students, to purchasing Bibles, t-shirts, club dues, and trip fees. All done from the kindness of his heart, wanting to see the young children thrive. Students and teachers say one word comes to mind when you think of Senior Deputy Gill: friendship. A friend who never judges them and is always open to have a conversation.
Everybody loves him. He doesn't have any enemies.
Having an SRO on campus is very important. Deputy Gill brings a sense of community too to our program here at Ernest Ward. He interacts with the kids. He builds relationships with the kids. He establishes a rapport like no other employee on campus can.
Whether it's counseling students, leading Teens for Christ, or showing up at community sporting events on his own time, Senior Deputy Gill has built a reputation within the student population as not just a law enforcement officer, but a person they can look up to.
He's more than just what you would think an officer would be, because coming up here in 6th grade, I was scared of what the police officer being in the school. You know, if you do anything wrong, he may be right up on your back. But I mean, he's not the one he's not going after people doing stuff wrong. He's trying to catch people doing stuff right.
One of his many accomplishments as an SRO came shortly after Senior Deputy Gill was assigned to Ernest Ward Middle School. A school club, Teens for Christ. Their leader was stepping down and no one was able to fill the slot. Without a leader, the club would have been eliminated. When Senior Deputy Gill heard about the club's issue, he stepped in to fill the void.
I said, well, I can do it, you know. So I went to the principal and asked her, what is the issue? Why they have to meet in the afternoon? She said, we have to give them breakfast. I said, I can take care of that.
What Senior Deputy Gill is not quick to say is the club started with a group of 12 students. The club now has grown to over 80 members, all of whom he provides breakfast for out of his own pocket.
He loves the community and he enjoys being with kids.
He does not ask for recognition. He does not ask for reward. Senior Deputy Gill simply says, I'm just doing my job.
There was a young man who went to school here several years ago, and he was a pain. I mean, he really, truly was a problem child. A couple months back, I got a Facebook message from him. Whoa, sometimes you get these things, and he said, "Are you still doing SRO stuff?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Well, good." He said, "Keep up the good work, because I don't know where I would have been if it hadn't been for your guidance." And that's the most rewarding thing, is when you hear kids, after they've been gone for years, will come back up to you and talk to you about it.
We would not be a whole community without him being here on our campus. He is truly an amazing, giving man.
This year, 2 of our deputies were honored by the governor with life-saving awards for their heroic actions saving people from rough waters on Pensacola Beach. Their story comes in at number 6. Senior Deputy Robinson and Deputy Chambliss were patrolling the beach on ATVs near Avenida 19 when they heard a group of people, 2 women, 2 men, and 5 young children, calling for help from the water. Deputy Chambliss and Senior Deputy Robinson jumped into action. Deputy Chambliss was able to push the women and children out of the rip current, where Senior Deputy Robinson was able to reach the children and women and pull them to safety. One of the male swimmers was able to escape the rip current and swim to shore. Lifeguards, EMS, and fire and rescue arrived on scene and helped assist getting the last remaining male out of the water.
It was a huge team effort, not only with us, but lifeguards when they got there, EMS, checking on everybody. It was just a huge teamwork effort on everybody's part.
We don't need a thanks or anything like that. They're safe, we're safe. Everyone went home.
Both of the males were transported to a local hospital. The women and children were treated and released on scene. This next story was another joint effort between the ECSO, Pensacola Police Department, and a few other state and federal agencies. At number 5, Operation Undertow.
It's nice to be the head of an agency, but I will tell you, I don't serve warrants. I don't listen to wiretaps, and I don't kick in doors. But I got some professional experts that do.
It's called Operation Undertow. From September 7th to the 11th, investigators with several different agencies, including the Escambia County Sheriff's Office, Pensacola Police Department, the State Attorney's Office, U.S. Marshal Service, and Naval Criminal Investigative Service, worked to put people behind bars for traveling to have sex with teenage boys or girls.
2/3 of our crimes committed today occur indoors. And I think this brings it to light very boldly for all of us to know that this is such a hateful and insidious crime that preys upon our children, who are the most vulnerable.
The 22 suspects made contact with investigators using several different websites. Each one was told numerous times they were chatting with a minor. Still, they decided to travel to meet with the teenager they were chatting with. When the suspects arrived at the door, they were met with open arms and quickly taken inside the home.
And it is surprising to me to see that we continue to make this many arrests and arrests that have this high quality.
While local law enforcement leaders were proud of this investigation, there is still more work to be done.
Protecting and serving the public is ongoing. It's not just a program. It's not just one project. It's one task day after day.
In February, our community was hit hard by 2 tornadoes, the first touching down in century. During this storm, thankfully, no lives were lost, but the damage rocked the community. Many homes and businesses gone. People all around the area pitched in to help rebuild. Then a week later, another tornado touched down in North Point neighborhood. More than 300 homes were destroyed. This is our number 4 story of the year.
On Tuesday night, February 23rd, Sergeant Tony Godwin was the first Escambia County Sheriff's Office deputy on scene after the EF3 tornado hit the Moorings apartments.
There were people that were trapped on the top floor by debris, and everybody was screaming and hollering. Of course, there was no lights, and it was raining, the wind was still howling, so yeah, it was a kind of a chaos moment.
Godwin and other first responders immediately jumped into action, pulling people from their dilapidated homes and making sure everyone in the area was safe.
They get here, they don't complain, they put in the long hours and the sweat and the blood and the tears until the job is done, so I couldn't be more proud of the guys.
Only 3 people were sent to the hospital.
If you see actually the destruction and just the amount of people that are concentrated in those apartments, it's I guess you could say, yeah, a miracle that nobody was hurt more than what they were.
The next morning, it was easy to see the destruction the tornado left behind. There's nails in the boards. There's still debris everywhere here at the Moorings Apartments, and that's what makes it a safety hazard. This section is still shut down, and that's why we have ECSO deputies in place to make sure no one gets hurt or loots in the area.
And until we can get people in here to be able to remove this debris, we have to keep people out. Unfortunately, in situations like this, the ugly side of it is you have looters that come in and try to take people's belongings. We're here to make sure that they stay out, that the people stay safe.
In other neighborhoods like North Point, residents are trying to put their homes back together. Many depend highly on volunteers for meals, clothes, and construction items. The local Assembly of God churches have band together offering food to victims and workers.
This is an opportunity for us as the body of Christ to be the hands and feet of God. We know God is a loving and compassionate God, and this is the way to show that compassion of God is by us reaching out to a community that is hurting.
Number 3 is a couple who traveled through the United States on a crime spree that ended here in Escambia County. Brittany Harper and Blake Fitzgerald, or Bonnie and Clyde as the mainstream media dubbed them, went on a week-long crime spree robbing and kidnapping people. On February 7th, that spree ended after they went head-to-head in a standoff with Escambia County deputies and members of the Santa Rosa County Sheriff's Office. After refusing to surrender, Harper was shot and wounded, and Fitzgerald was shot and killed on the scene after pointing a firearm and threatening to shoot deputies.
In the Panhandle of Florida, we take crime seriously and work together to make sure those who pose threats to our citizens are brought to justice.
Welcoming Chief Simmons as a member of the ECSO landed on our list at number 2.
I've had many conversations with Sheriff Morgan in regards to what needs to be done. What does the future hold for Escambia County Sheriff's Office and the community, obviously. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to take a look at everything that we do, every operation, every process that we do, and see if we are doing it as efficient and as necessary as we possibly can. So really we just want to make everything better, do what we do, and we do so many things well. We just want to always strive to do better.
And the number 1 story of 2016, Shop with a Cop. If it wasn't for your donations, this event wouldn't be made possible. This year, each child was able to spend $200. We were able to meet many kids who were all thrilled to shop with one of our deputies and spend money on Christmas presents. But one story stood out from the rest. In February of last year, 6-year-old Jonathan Fisk's life changed forever. His mother and brother were killed in a car accident. Jonathan was critically injured.
I try to get him to talk about it because we do have a therapist that's been, a volunteer therapist that helps out with it. And he talks about it pretty openly to a point.
And just a few short months later, Jonathan's father passed away. That's when his 22-year-old brother Caleb decided to take on the challenge of adopting Jonathan.
Now I feel like he's kind of gotten to that point where there's not a daily reminder about what happened. It used to be like he would sometimes just get at about that time of night and he would just be crying and crying. And, just don't even talk, just hold him and, tell him you love him and he's okay.
If anyone deserves a Merry Christmas, it's little Jonathan. He was one of several Escambia County students picked to shop with a cop.
This is for our underprivileged kids. We go to Superintendent Malcolm Thomas through the school system. There's a heavy SRO influence in this too, our school resource officers. And we ask for those families who, are probably seeing some hard times. And this is, again, one of our community outreaches. We want to make sure that we ensure that as many kids as possible in Escambia County, have a Christmas of some sort.
You see something else?
Jonathan was paired with Deputy Ron Gill. Each child was given $200, money donated by local businesses and private citizens.
Different organizations throughout the county would give it, private citizens would give. We raised over $15,000 for the kids, and like I said, we were able to reach 63 kids at $200 apiece.
A lot of stuff.
If you would like to donate to the program next year, contact Lieutenant Ken Simmons at 436-9630. We hope you enjoyed our top 10 ECSO news stories of 2016 countdown.
And don't forget to watch ECSO News right here on Blab TV every Tuesday night at 8 p.m.
I'm Escambia County Sheriff David Morgan, and thank you for watching Ask the Sheriff. This is your chance to ask me any questions you want answered about the ECSO. Our team hits the streets again, and here are some of the questions you asked.
And my question to Sheriff Morgan is, with all the Black Lives Matter chaos, what is he doing to ensure the safety of the African American community, not only at UWF, but in Pensacola?
Dave Seals asked, with the Black Lives Matter movement, what are we doing in Escambia County to protect African American lives? Dave, we take the approach that all lives matter. I know that's not politically correct, but that's my approach as your sheriff. Meaning I don't segregate people by race or ethnicity, by your political affiliation, by your religion, whatever it may be. If you're a citizen of Escambia County, you receive the full and complete protection of the Escambia County Sheriff's Office. You will as long as I'm the sheriff of Escambia County. We're very fortunate here because in one of the previous questions, I went at some length to talk about our community outreach, which I've been doing since 2006. I speak at a tremendous number of churches, to include a tremendous number of what's referred to, unfortunately, as minority churches. Now, that statement in and of itself means we're segregated, doesn't it? We have a white church, or we have an integrated church, or we have a black church. And because of that community outreach, and that I go across the spectrum, again, irrespective of what your ethnicity is, we get a pretty good tenor of what's, problems are in our community. It also affords me an opportunity to know that there are pastors and community leaders throughout Escambia County in all socioeconomic groups and all ethnic groups that would pick up the phone and call me if there is an issue in any one particular area or group within Escambia County. I feel very confident about that, and I think we haven't seen some of the problems in Escambia County that we've witnessed throughout the nation with the Black Lives Matter. My issue with those programs is, again, they're segregationists in and of themselves. I think it's sad that we don't have this discussion or these dialogues, if you will, in our academic environments, in our universities. We certainly have them in some of our churches. We need to have more of that dialogue, excuse me. Why? Because that is part of the, we always hear about we want to have a open discussion on race in the United States. When we begin the discussion with hurling the racist epithet at each other, kind of shuts down the discussion, doesn't it? So whether it's Black Lives Matter or any other group, that is, screaming or yelling at people, you can't have a dialogue with someone that's yelling at you. I tell folks, I don't do Jerry Springer, meaning that you're not going to yell at me, and I'm not going to yell at you. We're going to have a civil adult dialogue about issues that we have in Escambia County. If we both approach a subject in that manner, you'd be surprised at the solutions we can come up with. That's always been my approach as a sheriff of Escambia County, and it will so be until the day that I leave office.
Would you consider ever doing a women's self-defense class?
Ashley asked, would we ever consider doing a women's self-defense class? Actually, we kind of touch on that area. We don't actually teach women's self-defense for obvious reasons. Number one, that's not really a requirement, if you will, statutorily for a law enforcement agency, a service we should provide to a community. There are many very reputable self-defense schools within the city of Pensacola and Escambia County that teach specific self-defense techniques for women. Again, to help you stave off the sorts of assaults, unfortunately, that occur more so to women than to men, we would recommend that you do that. We do touch on that area in our Citizens Law Enforcement Academy. We talk about not becoming a victim of a crime, self-awareness techniques, being able to practice what we call situational awareness, which is about 90%, by the way, of being safe is never placing yourself in a position to become a victim of a crime. So again, I would refer you to what used to be referred to as the Yellow Pages, and to find a good self-defense school. Many teach specifically women's self-defense, meaning that if you don't want to become a martial artist or an MMA fighter, which is very popular today, they teach specific techniques. So that would be my recommendation to you.
My question is, why do deputies get to drive their cars home from work?
Alexandria asked, why do we have a take-home car program at the Escambia County Sheriff's Office, meaning why do deputies get to take their cars home? Andrea, this has been debated back and forth, and there's been numerous studies. This is one of the things that was referred to, I think if you go back far enough, it was the Michigan plan. And a lot of agencies still have officers come to their duty station and they check out a car, meaning that the cars are basically running 24/7. So you can actually, run a car through the max number of miles and its efficiency to remain in law enforcement, or you can do as we do, assigning vehicles for take-home to our deputies. We prefer that method and model. Why? It holds the mileage down on the cars. It also allows my officers for me to call for an immediate response. In the event of, an insurrection, a natural disaster, a riot situation, etc., our officers can deploy from their home and go immediately to a scene. And that's one of the understandings that we have with our officers when they are allowed to take home their vehicle. In addition to that, it is one of the offsets that we use for our officers, meaning that they don't have to spend the additional monies because our pay is about mid-range in the state of Florida for officers. We're not in the high end or the low end, but as you can well imagine, they don't pay for the gas for the vehicle driving to and from work, and so it's a tremendous offset for the low salary that they draw. We find that it's a better program, again, for our responses immediately for officers. They're also allowed, by the way, to take these vehicles to off-duty employment, but they do reimburse the county $3 out of the pay that they make, and that's to cover gas and the insurance on the vehicle. And also, by the way, the agreement we have with all the employers is if an officer is working what we refer to as a Signal 15, it's an off-duty employment job, and an incident goes down where an officer needs assistance, they immediately leave that off-duty employment because they're in uniform and with their vehicle, and they respond to backup for any officer requiring assistance. So it's a good plan all the way around for the citizens of Escambia County, as well as benefiting the individual officers in a little bit of a pay offset. Remember, you can also email your questions and ask the sheriff at escambiaso.com. We'll be back next week right here on Blab TV Tuesday night at 8 p.m.